Twilight is back. Vampires are going to make a comeback for us. They're coming to get us. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today for this video I'm going to be going back in time, and by going back in time I mean going back into my grade 10 years, my high school years, my prime years, where I read all the YA trashy paranormal romances, where I read a lot of the books that are the butt of the jokes when it comes to YA. And you know what, we're not going to get into that situation where we're going to start arguing about how Twilight is actually a beautiful piece of literature or Twilight was actually a great book because of the new release announcement of Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer that's actually coming out in August 2020. A little bit backstory about me is that I heard about Twilight first in grade 10 and lots of people were making fun of it. I had no idea what they were talking about because my prime years of reading happened around that time, so I was just literally catching up on a lot of the books that a lot of people were already have read in their past, like, you know, elementary and middle school years. So I was behind the times, and when people were making fun of Twilight and I found a copy of Twilight for like 50 cents at my public library, I decided to pick it up just to see how bad it really was. And spoiler alert, I actually enjoyed Twilight back in grade 10 when I first read it. I thought it was a very captivating read. I thought it was very interesting. It was kind of like my first official vampire romance, and it had characters that I've never seen before, and I just remember the writing to be very like intoxicating. It was something that gripped me and that I couldn't leave the world. We're not going to talk about the movies because I'm going to be really honest with you, I could not sit through Twilight the movie like seriously. I kept laughing the entire time and I thought the acting was just horrible on all fronts. It's not just Kristen Stewart, it's Robert Pattinson, and it's not even the actor's fault, it's not even the actress's fault. It's literally the writing and then the way that they filmed it and shot it just made it so awkward. I think the only prize, like the only good actress in the whole Twilight series was probably Anna Kendrick, because she herself was just breaking out of character a lot and she was just kind of like, this is a stupid movie. And aside from that, I like Twilight enough, but I didn't like it enough to think that I would appreciate New Moon or Breaking Dawn or whatever the heck the next books in the series is. So with that being said, I never actually finished the whole Twilight series, and I absolutely have no interest in reading the Twilight series. Somewhere along the way of high school, somebody actually ended up spoiling the whole series for me, but I did it on purpose. I asked them what was it about, and you know how people goes when they try to spoil it for you. They kind of just break it down in this like really bad format that just makes it sound silly anyways. So I never ended up picking up the books, and I actually never ended up watching the movies either because I had zero interest in it. And that was kind of like the stopping point of like my paranormal books as well. Like I just kind of grew up and I just never picked up any books afterwards that interested me. However, I am starting to get back into paranormal, or at least I'm trying to get into paranormal, so please do not attack me in the comments. And with the news of Midnight Sun being released this year, lots of people are saying vampires are making a comeback and vampire books are going to be a thing in the next few years, and I can definitely see that coming because like why not, right? Because like our whole bookish community is about authors recycling ideas from the past, recycling ideas and making them relevant again, you know, like why not? It's not like it's something really horrible, you know, it's just an element in a story. So I'm all for it. Like I don't really care that vampires are making a comeback, but I decided to reminisce and to go back into my grade 10 prime years and to read some of the vampire novels that I have read, or at least books that were based off of the TV show that I actually invested my time into. And that is why I decided that I was going to read Stefan's Diaries, which is the Vampire Diaries. And if you guys don't know the Vampire Diaries, then I don't know like what happened, because the Vampire Diaries literally took up everybody's like pages and spaces during that time when vampires were very popular. Like we had Twilight on the silver screen, but we had Vampire Diaries on the TV screen. And on Vampire Diaries, what happened is that we have this chick named Elena. She's immortal, but then like Stefan and Damon, his older brother, are fighting against each other and to like win her heart. And it was this beautiful epic love triangle, and there's just so much drama in Mystic Falls. And I really liked that TV show until like I kind of just lost interest because it got too dramatic and then plot lines got too complicated and I didn't want to follow along anymore, and also life got too busy and I never ended up catching up on all the episodes that I missed on cable television. So yeah, so I decided to read Stefan's diaries, and it was a journey. It was a journey. It was a journey that nobody wanted me to take, like not even myself. I didn't want to take this journey, and nobody asked for this. Nobody went like, man, I really just want to see someone's reaction videos and someone's review videos. I just decided it would be funny to read it, and then I just got carried away and I ended up reading books 1 to 3 of the entire series.
Don't ever play yourself. Don't ever play yourself. Don't ever play yourself. Don't ever play yourself. Congratulations, you played yourself.
You know what? And if I went through that, I am going to try to make a video out of it too. And by the way, the TV series is actually based off Stefan's diaries, or at least Stefan's diaries are based off the TV show, because according to Wikipedia, my #1 research source, they said that the books were being written at the same time as the TV shows were being written. So there's like a lot of discrepancies between the book and the show, which is like completely fine and understandable. But what I didn't expect was the boredom that I would receive. So the first book in the series is actually Origins. Basically, it's historical YA, like fantasy paranormal book, okay? Stefan is a younger brother to Damon, and Damon is a soldier who just came back from war. He's well respected. Everybody loves him because he has that charming personality. He's very good looking. You know, like who wouldn't want this guy that just charms the whole room? Stefan's just kind of the man that just kind of stands in the corner. You know, he's still good looking enough that you pay attention to him. But he's like the less charismatic character, and you're not as attracted to him as you are attracted to his older brother. And with that being said, Stefan's kind of shocked that his father already arranged a marriage for Stefan, and that basically he's going to marry this childhood sweetheart, a girl that he grew up with his entire life but has absolutely zero interest in. I mean, he thinks that she's attractive, but personality wise and everything else is kind of just like lackluster and dull. Like he's not that attracted to her for her mind, and it's just like something that he thinks that it's not going to be a good idea because there's not going to be that much love towards it. And he's kind of like dragging his feet along the whole book, and then that's when Catherine comes in. Somewhere along the way, Stefan's father actually lets Catherine, this noble girl, come into their household, and Catherine's gonna stay with the family because of like some financial problems and with some family issues or something like that. I forget already. And Catherine is the most beautiful girl that Stefan has ever laid her eyes on, and he feels this instant connection to Catherine, and he knows that he just wants to hang out with Catherine and be with her. And what happens when Damon comes in and kind of like disturbs their relationship, and Stefan is jealous, and Damon is also like playing along, pretending that he doesn't know that Stefan's attracted to Catherine, and Damon's just kind of like flirting with Catherine all the time, and Stefan's like trying to like fight his way to get the attention of Catherine, and but also knowing that he is also engaged to another girl. And along the way, we realize that something is wrong in the city that they're living in the town that they're living in. Animals are dying, creatures are dying, where like the blood is drawn out, and we don't know who's murdering all these farm animals. And then we get into bigger mysteries where people are actually showing up dead, and their blood is being sucked and they're being killed. And that's when the vampire hunt begins, where people think that they are actually vampires that traveled all the way from Italy, and now they are hunting down these demons that they call vampires. And everybody's scared, everybody doesn't trust each other, nobody knows who the vampires really are. And of course, surprise, surprise, Catherine is actually a vampire. Overall, I like this book because it was a good setup. It reminded me of the Vampire Diaries, because if you have watched the Vampire Diaries, you will already know this story of back in the day, Stefan and Catherine and Damon, and you know, like that historical romance, like flashbacks of those episodes. It was very nostalgic. It brought me a lot of nostalgia, and I liked the mystery element of it, and I liked the description of the crimes being committed. I liked the characters. I thought they were all introduced well. There wasn't that much angst. There wasn't that many problems until like the very end, and the story is also kind of like the lead up to like Stefan's origins of how he became a vampire, and also how Damon became a vampire, and how we see Stefan and Damon's relationship change before and after they're turning to become a vampire. I gave this book a surprisingly 3 out of 5 stars because I liked it. There wasn't anything like trashy about this book. Like, it was good in its own sense, and I was actually excited to read the second novel. So the second novel is Bloodlust, and this is the story of like basically Damon and Stefan realizing that they're now immortals. They have been turned into vampires by Catherine, and they are now going to be living on the earth until they either get stabbed in the heart, their like bodies are being burned, or the heads are chopped off. You can see that Stefan's character has completely changed. No longer is he the wallflower. He is the charming one. He is the angry one. He is the volatile one where you don't know which direction he's going to be hitting. You can see that he doesn't know how to react to certain a lot of things. He thinks that, you know, he's like a baby vampire that thinks that he already has his supernatural abilities, when it actually takes time and concentration and practice in order to get his like special abilities, such as changing people's minds, you know, super strength, super speed, and super like everything. Then we have Damon, who is the opposite now, and he is like Stefan. He is angry because he doesn't want to be a vampire and he doesn't want to be a monster, and it was Stefan's fault that he got turned into a vampire. Like, he's always like breaking things and he's always being angry and stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god, like calm down, like how depressing are you? So he's like the kind of the one that's like, I'm basically going to make your life a living hell to Stefan, and Stefan's just like, dude, like I was just trying to save your life, like that's why I turned you into a vampire. And yeah, this book was not what I was expecting, because at this point I thought that this book will be similar to the Vampire Diaries, the TV show, where we actually get introduced to Elena, and that it would be set in like the modern times in the high school in Mystic Falls, and where they actually have like a, you know, love triangle, where that really sexually charged relationship, and I just wasn't getting it. All I was getting was like literally like historical facts, plots, like character development, but there was no angst, there was no problems really that I really cared about. There wasn't that love that I was looking for in a YA vampire romance, and I was so disappointed because I was like, come on, like this is a good story, but where is the romance? Where is the intensity that I really want? And that's when I kind of went like, this is it. This is going to be the last book that I read, because clearly I messed up. I clearly messed up because when I started reading this series, I didn't do my research. I didn't read through all the synopsises of the books, and I didn't realize that this series is actually not really featuring Elena, and that it's not going to be told in the present high school time that we're so familiar with in the TV shows, and that it's literally all flashbacks and like retellings of like the historical moments. And like, I know a lot of people that are watching this video right now who are Vampire Diary book fans, they're probably like, yeah, like didn't you know that? Like, I thought you knew. But like, keep in mind guys, before you drag me in the comments and before you like drag me out anywhere else, that I am a newbie to like vampire romances and like paranormal fiction. So clearly I did not do my research enough for this video or for my reading purposes, and I clearly messed up, and I paid the price because I was disappointed in the third book. And honestly, for Craving, I can't even tell you what happened. Somewhere along the way in this book series, like Damon got captured by like a circus freak, and that like people were like torturing him, and Stefan was trying to save Damon, and Damon was just like, I don't need to be saved, just let them kill me. And I was like, this kid, this man needs to like calm down at this point, because I was just so tired of his like angry teenager, mad depressed attitude that I was just so bored with him. Like, when is he going to be like that badass that we've been so familiarized in the TV show? I was waiting for that moment to happen and it just never happened, and I was just so mad. It was just bland. Like, Stefan kept falling in love with different girls, but like it was never like a strong love connection that we see with Elena in the TV series, and it wasn't interesting. I didn't feel anything. Like, at some point I thought I was like crazy because I was like, why aren't I feeling anything? So overall, did not like the series. I think there's 5 books in this series and I just could not finish it. Afterwards, I gave up and I returned the last remaining 2 audiobooks and decided to pick up a proper romance or a proper fiction novel. And overall, this experience has been not enlightening at all, because clearly, as you can tell, I messed up with picking the books and picking the correct vampire novels to read. But it was fun to go back in time, to go back into the nostalgic times of high school, where like these were the books that interested me and that these were the books that were all hyped about, that were all talked about among our friend groups. Because like, to be honest, like back then I never had Goodreads. I never really had a platform to talk about books, so all I had to talk about books were the friends that were sitting directly in front of me who sometimes read the books. And it was like, you know, like my cousin who sometimes read the same books as me. So it's definitely been fun to read vampire romances, but I'm excited to see the new wave of vampire romances, if you guys know what I mean. I want to see, like, because like back then we had all these problematic vampire romances. So now, with that being said, and with authors already knowing this, then they could actually learn from the past, from like the mistakes of previous authors or the previous novels that they've read, and actually improve in them. And there is a chance that vampire books can be actually of high quality, and it doesn't actually have to be something that a lot of people tend to make fun of just so that they can make fun of it. So I'm excited to see what the future holds, and I would not turn down reading a vampire novel. I mean, like, if somebody hypes it up enough, maybe I'll actually pick one up. I know there's one that has been released recently this year from like Entangled Romance, and it was called Crave by Tracy Wolff, and I've seen the cover, and the cover looks really similar to Twilight. So I don't think that that's a great idea to market your vampire novel that looks exactly like Twilight, because there's going to be a lot of people that are either going to be confused at thinking that Stephanie Meyer actually wrote a new Twilight novel and released it so soon this year, and 2, because like, I mean, Twilight has already been dragged enough for its cheesiness. Associating yourself with a Twilight novel just seems like a cheap marketing tactic, and it also gives you a bad connotation to it because your books look so similar to the Twilight novel. So I don't know what the idea was when they were marketing that book. I haven't read that book yet, but if anybody has read that book, please let me know, because I'm very curious to see if that's actually a good romance. But that is it for my journey back to vampire romances. It wasn't really a vampire romance. Overall, I was severely disappointed. I mean, the books I read weren't actually bad books, but it was just not what I was looking for. So it was basically a tragic moment for me, and I'm just gonna go back and read the other romances on my shelf. But until the next video, I'll see you guys again. Bye.